Thanks so much for staying tuned to this channel. Welcome to another edition of International Forum. I am Wilson Marshall. Because of the topic on hand, I would just want to crave the indulgence to please pardon us for today. For those that love the segment of news making the round, all between the rebels and soldiers in DR Congo, what is going on, talk about, is it DeepSeek right now, the AI that is truly giving Americans tech giant headache is from China. We have talked about that, about time, and of course my guests in the studio are itching to really get into the discussion for today. Anyway, it's all about Trump, his actions thus far. Is it a step in the right direction or a recipe for disaster? Now, that is the question people have been asking. They've been trying to answer that same question. In the diaspora, we have, yes, a legal practitioner, a political affairs commentator, and of course a political analyst. Join me to welcome Barrister Osahon Osazua. It's a pleasure to have you join us, Barrister.
Thank you. It's always my pleasure being here.
All right. And he's from Massachusetts, USA. So he's there, and he'll be like, giving us feedback from what is really happening over there. So they're very close to him. I like to call him Sonny. He likes to call me Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Can you imagine? I'm no Will Smith, but join me to welcome Honorable Etiosa Igebo, a.k.a. Sonny. Welcome to International Forum. Happy New Year to you.
Good afternoon, viewers.
All right.
What's the new dance move, huh?
Okay, he is a lecturer in UNIBEN, faculty, right? College of Medical Science. I keep calling faculty College of Medical Sciences. A clergyman, a political analyst. Join me to welcome Honorable Frank Amego. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, Happy New Year. Thanks for having me.
All right. And of course, Barrister Heron was a legal practitioner, a political affairs commentator. Barrister, welcome.
Viewers at home, once more, Happy New Year. Thank God for the gift of life.
All right, so Happy New Year to all of you, because this is the first time having you guys on set, even to barristers and hosts as well. But before we kick off with this discussion segment, take a listen to what Ronald Reagan said, his last speech as he was exiting the Oval Office. We'll be right back.
Since this is the last speech that I will give as president, I think it's fitting to leave one final thought, an observation about a country which I love. It was stated best in a letter I received not long ago. A man wrote me and said, "You can go to live in France, but you cannot become a Frenchman. You can go to live in Germany or Turkey or Japan, but you cannot become a German, a Turk, or Japanese. But anyone from any corner of the earth can come to live in America and become an American." Yes, the torch of Lady Liberty symbolizes our freedom and represents our heritage, the compact with our parents, our grandparents, and our ancestors. It is that lady who gives us our great and special place in the world. For it's the great life force of each generation of new Americans that guarantees that America's triumph shall continue unsurpassed into the next century and beyond. Other countries may seek to compete with us, but in one vital area, as a beacon of freedom and opportunity that draws the people of the world, no country on earth comes close. This, I believe, is one of the most important sources of America's greatness. We lead the world because, unique among nations, we draw our people, our strength, from every country and every corner of the world. And by doing so, we continuously renew and enrich our nation. While other countries cling to the stale past, here in America, we breathe life into dreams, we create the future, and the world follows us into tomorrow. Thanks to each wave of new arrivals to this land of opportunity, we're a nation forever young, forever bursting with energy and new ideas, and always on the cutting edge, always leading the world to the next frontier. This quality is vital to our future as a nation. If we ever closed the door to new Americans, our leadership in the world would soon be lost. A number of years ago, an American student traveling in Europe took an East German ship across the Baltic Sea. One of the ship's crew members from East Germany, a man in his 60s, struck up a conversation with the American student. After a while, the student asked the man how he'd learned such good English, and the man explained that he had once lived in America. He said that for over a year he'd worked as a farmer in Oklahoma and California, that he'd planted tomatoes and picked ripe melons. It was, the man said, the happiest time of his life. Well, the student, who'd seen the awful conditions behind the Iron Curtain, blurted out the question, well, why did you ever leave? I had to, he said. The war ended. The man had been in America as a German prisoner of war. Now, I don't tell this story to make the case for former POWs. Instead, I tell this story just to remind you of the magical, intoxicating power of America. We may sometimes forget it, but others do not. Even a man from a country at war with the United States, while held here as a prisoner, could fall in love with us. Those who become American citizens love this country even more. And that's why the Statue of Liberty lifts her lamp to welcome them to the Golden Door. It is bold men and women yearning for freedom and opportunity who leave their homelands and come to a new country to start their lives over. They believe in the American dream, and over they make it come true for themselves, for their children, and for others. They give more than they receive, they labor and succeed, and often they are entrepreneurs. But their greatest contribution is more than economic, because they understand in a special way how glorious it is to be an American. They renew our pride and gratitude in the United States of America, the greatest, freest nation in the world, the last best hope of man.
All right, now that was the last speech given by Ronald Reagan, from American president. That should be in 1989. Before we come to the studio to really dive into the discussion, let's hear what Trump said. That should be in 1988, where he was being interviewed by Oprah Winfrey. Take a listen.
Took out a full-page ad in major U.S. newspapers last year criticizing U.S. foreign policy. What would you do differently, Donald?
I'd make our allies, forgetting about the enemies you can't talk to so easily, I'd make our allies pay their fair share. We're a debtor nation. Something's going to happen over the next number of years with this country, because you can't keep going on losing $200 billion, and yet we let Japan come in and dump everything right into our markets and everything. It's not free trade. If you ever go to Japan right now and try to sell something, forget about it, Oprah. Just forget about it. It's almost impossible. They don't have laws against it. They just make it impossible. They come over here, they sell their cars, their VCRs, they knock the hell out of our companies. And, hey, I have tremendous respect for the Japanese people. I mean, you can respect somebody that's beating the hell out of you, but they are beating the hell out of this country. Kuwait, they live like kings. The poorest person in Kuwait, they live like kings. And yet they're not paying. We make it possible for them to sell their oil. Why aren't they paying us 25% of what they're making? It's a joke.
This sounds like political presidential talk to me, and I know people have talked to you about whether or not you want to run. Would you ever?
Probably not, but I do get tired of seeing the country ripped off.
Why would you not?
I just don't think I really have the inclination to do it. I love what I'm doing. I really like it.
Also, it doesn't pay as well.
No, it doesn't. But, you know, I just probably wouldn't do it, Oprah. I probably wouldn't, but I do get tired of seeing what's happening with this country. And if it got so bad, I would never want to rule it out totally, because I really am tired of seeing what's happening with this country, how we're really making other people live like kings, and we're not.
What do you think of this year's presidential race, the way it's shaping up?
Well, it's going to be very interesting. I think that probably George Bush has an advantage in terms of the election. I think that probably people would say that he's got like that little edge in terms of the incumbency, et cetera, et cetera. But I think Jesse Jackson's done himself very proud. I think Michael Dukakis has done one hell of a job. And George Bush has done a hell of a job. You know, they all went in there sort of as semi-underdogs, including George Bush, and they've all come out. I think people that are around all three of those candidates can be very proud of the jobs they've done.
You've said, though, that if you did run for president, you believe you'd win.
Well, I don't know. I think I'd win. I tell you what, I wouldn't go in to lose. I've never gone in to lose in my life. And if I did decide to do it, I think I'd be inclined, I would say that I would have a hell of a chance of winning, because I think people, I don't know how your audience feels, but I think people are tired of seeing the United States ripped off. And I can't promise you everything, but I can tell you one thing, this country would make one hell of a lot of money from those people that for 25 years have taken advantage. It wouldn't be the way.
All right, thank you so much. Well, gentlemen, you heard two speeches. One is like, an interview, and Donald Trump, that was like, over 3 decades ago, telling what he feels about America until today. Many people like he's still maintaining that stance. He didn't change. And he said he wants to become president. He's not coming to run to lose. He's going to win. He has won twice now, so to speak. That's on one hand. But for the first speech by an outgoing president, that should be in 1989. Ronald Reagan was like, look, if you close the door right now to what makes America talking about the immigrants, so to speak, America will lose its place as #1 in the world. Let's take it up from what Ronald Reagan said in 1989 compared to what is happening now. And I want to start off from you, Honorable Chiosa Ige, but what do you feel about this, the Trump instant executive order about immigration? Don't forget the topic. He stands right now on global issue. Step in the right direction, or a recipe for disaster?
Well, I don't think so. Because when you look at the current trends, what is happening or what has happened before now, I'm sure you can agree that 30 years ago was a long time, 3 decades ago. So things that was happening then and the perception of how those things comes back in some of information and what you then put out will be different from what you see now. Because he clearly stated on that interview that he doesn't have the interest to run for president. But here we go, he has run twice and is president again. So I think the executive order is like a shortcut to wanting to do things that you want to do in form of a martial law in a democratic system. I don't think we exhibit such orders in most West African countries. But in America, it's just a way to say, well, we brought about democracy. We will also do things that will help us to cut corners, rather than putting it through the legislative arms of government. They don't want a situation whereby so many people have their input, do not agree, because it's harder to agree on that note. Knowing fully well that the way Ronald Reagan spoke when he was living as a Democrat or Democrats differs from the position of Donald Trump, who was already tilting towards the area of a Republican. So if they push that through the House, definitely they may end up in the deadlock. So for that reason, they stylishly introduced these executive orders to help them cut corners and just say something and next thing people are deported, for instance, on this immigration policy, which I'm not really a fan of. However, it just kind of baffles me. It kind of gives me the idea for us to, as a people, think our own place. He's thinking American. He's thinking today the immigrants are coming in from Mexico and whatnot. So for them to do something about it, you come up with an executive order. To me, it's just like a martial law. It's not the best, but it doesn't necessarily mean it will put them, from what I'm saying or from my own understanding, that it will put America in a very difficult situation because the country is overflowing with people.
I'll come back to you. Well, Honorable Frank Kamego, do you share his views? Don't forget that he has deported some already to Brazil, Puerto Rico, Colombia. Some of the government are saying, please, we don't want these people in our land. Take them back to America where they have been living. Please take it up from there.
Yes, I agree partially with Sonny. But the point is clear, that what was said about 3 decades ago should be reviewed. I'm sure Nigeria should take cue from there. It should be reviewed. It must not be as it has been. What Donald Trump is doing now is what we say in Nigeria, you don't shake table. So the shaking of the table is of utmost importance to him and the whole of America. And anything he's saying or doing now, he has long said it. If there's anything to draw inspiration from about Donald Trump is he says what he wants to do days, years before. So if Americans didn't like this posture that Donald Trump is taking, they should have voted him in. So for them to vote him into power the second time means they have agreed with whatever policies, whether executive or non-executive order is bringing up. And if you look at it on a larger scale, it wants to look inward as a country. It's a clarion call for other countries that have been dependent on them. One of the things he said recently is that any goods that you are importing into their country, you have to pay tariff. And if you think you don't have to pay any tariff, any tax on it, then take it back. So he wants to look inwards to make America the dream they ever had about it. And the best possible way or ways for him to accomplish that is the reason for these executive orders. That's the best I can think for him. So in that sense, but he has to play softly. He's too much in a hurry.
He's not playing softly now.
Absolutely,
He's playing a hard tune.
He should, because it's not they want to lose weight. The weight you gain over 10, 20 years, you want to lose the weight in 1 week. It will affect a lot of body organs. So Donald Trump should take it easy. He's not at war. He's the chief executive officer of the country. Nobody is dragging that with him. So he should take them step wisely, and will still accomplish whatever thing he wants to accomplish.
All right, I'll come back to you on that. But well, Barrister, do you have a contrary opinion about the man we're seeing on screen?
You see, the truth of life still remains, as it were. Before the man came into office, his position has been no. The man did not wake up and decided what he's doing now. Before the election proper, the man has actually stated all that he wanted to do on the issue of immigrants, on the issue of America being part of WHO, on the issue of lesbianism and transgender and all whatnot. Everybody knows the direction the man was tailoring to us. That is what you find in a leader who is courageous, a leader who is determined, a leader who is focused, and a leader who wants to bring a change. Because his language is America first. And this is what you lack in some parts of the world, leaders of the world, because you must take the interests of the people. Accepted that the Americans, they need the immigrants coming into America to help in the economic growth and all that. Just as what you find in Nigeria today. Our brothers from the north are chipping into all parts of the south and the west, trying to assist in the many jobs which ordinarily wouldn't have people to do. But what he is trying to say, if actually you are coming in, you must come in with all the necessary documentations that you need to pass through. You must not be a criminal because you are having some criminal, intentions. You have Nigerians, you have other people from other parts of the world who are there in America, and they are doing very well. So, to me, his policies are all well spelled out. They knew quite from ab initio what the man wants to do, and the man is going ahead to do it. That is one thing you find in a leader that is consistent, not a leader that for one single reason will want to change. The man has been consistent. You see the interview that was done over 3 decades ago. The language still remains the same. It was the same position he had. Then he was not even planning to become a president of America. You saw his position. And to today, 30 years or more after, the man still tells us on the same line. So you see a leader that is focused, a leader that has that sense of direction, knowing where he's going and knowing where he's coming from.
All right, now let's get straight down to U.S. Massachusetts, where Barrister Osahon Sazua is standing by. So, Barrister, what do you feel about all this? Donald Trump's approach, is it a step in the right direction or a recipe to disaster? What do you feel about it?
Yes, thank you, Winston. Thank you, everyone in the studio. And thank you for having me. We must understand that America as a nation does not and cannot live in isolation. It was a wise man that said that I am because you are, and that because you are, therefore I am. As simple as this syllogism is, it is direct to the point that I am because you are, and because you are, therefore I am. The world, we all coexist together. We all need each other. And before I continue, let me quickly correct something. The president that spoke wasn't a Democrat, Ronald Reagan. In fact, Ronald Reagan is about the greatest Republican president that has lived, that have ruled America in the past 200 years, arguably. So it's not a Democrat or a Republican thing. Ronald Reagan was a staunch Republican. He was governor of California, a strong Democratic base before he became president. Imagine for somebody from California to become president of America on the platform of the Republican Party. So that shows how politics have diverged from the lofty eyes of the Reagan administration to the miasma that we have today. You see, when you begin to demonize a certain people who don't reflect your colors or who don't necessarily agree with your own views of the world, who don't seem to be tailored according to your own religious or moral ethics, there is problem. We must learn to make room for others. It was Chinua Achebe that said that let the ego perch, let the heart perch, let the other one perch, and the one that says the other shouldn't perch, let its wings break. It is as simple as that. There is room for everybody under God's skies, and God's children must be treated with dignity, with love, and with compassion. And that sage equally said that the strong man shows his strength in the very ways in which he treats so-called little men. That's how you know the strong man, how he treats so-called little people. So coming from there, we must understand that Donald Trump anti-immigration stand has serious economic consequences. And every economic expert has said that this will lead to severe economic breakdown. So as I speak to you today, they are ushered in the South, in California, especially in California, where the seasonal workers that come from Mexico and from Latin America to pick crops, they are no longer there. So what do we have? Those crops are rotting away on the floor as we speak now. And prices of crops and eggs have more than tripled in the past 1 week because people are afraid to go out to work. Most of these persons that go to pick these fruits, they are not Americans. They are from Mexico. Which average American will go to the farm and be picking fruits, or be going to the poultry to be picking eggs? So we must understand, when you begin to demonize people as criminals. Yes, Donald Trump got the vote that he got. He even got the popular vote because he said he was going to go after the criminals and deport all of them. But now he knew ab initio. He knew from the very beginning that those criminals do not exist. They are a very tiny, less than 0.001% of the immigrants. Now he can't find them, and he has to do something about the people that he wants to deport. Now he's going to where people are working, where laborers are working, and he's trying to pick up people. And people are staying back at home, and we have this issue. Yes, something has to be done about a country. A country is defined by its territorial integrity.
He has so much to say.
I will come back to you. I know you have so much to say, but I'll take it bit by bit, okay? I will come back to you. Now, Barrister raised a vital point. He said things are no longer the same because the persons that, like, you know, being appointed will say scheduled, so to speak, now to pick on crops, pick eggs due to fear of being deported, no longer go to the farms. Right now, the price of fruits, eggs, it has doubled over past 1 week because of the principle of Donald Trump. But don't forget also the allies of America are, like, you know, very, very upset. They don't want to speak out right now. They're not happy about it. WHO is there, NATO is there, and so many other allies. Like what he said 30 years ago, he said, look, forget about your enemies. Okay, let's talk to our allies. Our allies should pay their own portion of what makes those allies stop fleecing America. And I'll take it from these 2 points of view.
Well, I think the first one you spoke about is the fruits or the farming
Yes.
situation. I think it's pretty much such a short time from when Donald Trump came into power on the 20th of January to maybe somebody speaking more on the effect or impact he has in America right now. I'm not there at the moment, with all due respect and fairness to my brother Sao. But however, I know that whenever a particular policy comes on board, like I said, it's now based on people's ideology. It will have a bullwhip effect. It will obviously spiral into other people who are living that are not criminals, perhaps are not residents in America, and may lead to those sort of challenges to do with people being deported. I'm just surprised to hear that they even bring criminals from countries like Mexico or whatnot to work in the farm.
No, he's a criminal like a 0.000%. Very minute.
My position,
but he's going after everyone.
My position is, I'm even surprised, like I said, that they actually bring criminals from other countries to come and work in America, which means those who go to America to do the menial job are still like the dogs and the baboons, those who will do the very menial job in order for the economy to keep moving. If we want to talk about us or talk about our interest, I don't think we eat American fruits in Nigeria, for instance. I think what is happening is that particular action of Donald Trump, which is the only area I particularly don't like about Donald Trump's policies. His immigration policy is very harsh. I know that it kind of reflects a certain idea of those who are not too pro other nations, sort of. I mean, if you want to blame them so much for saying that over there, look at Ghana, Nigeria. If you've traveled to African countries, you see the way they host to Nigeria. I think Nigeria is more receptive than many African countries. Talk less of America that is millions of miles away. But to me, I hope that Donald Trump kind of puts things right and find a way to, or maybe the American system find a way to challenge him so that he can slow down on the very ruthless deportation of parents, and maybe some of them have kids. He even speak about taking our birthrights. I don't know if that is America's problem. However, one thing is very paramount. The powers that be that he's fighting, which is the neocons, that led to him to stop the issue of, men and females should be together or whatnot, also has a lot of economic power.
We'll come to that point. We'll come to that point.
Okay.
Now let's take a look at what America is doing to their allies right now. Donald Trump, just like, hit the nail on the head, saying for WHO, America keeps contributing over $500 million annually to that particular organization, but America is getting less than what they're contributing, while other countries, they're the one getting more from America's contribution. He talked about NATO also during his first tenure. Now, his second tenure, he's going to do something about it, saying NATO members should contribute their own quota as America will pull out. Mind you, he said this thing over 30 years ago, and that is what he's doing right now. Will these actions, affect the position of America as the police of the world?
Obviously, it will. There's no competition about contributions to any international body. If, for instance, the WHO, you're contributing much more than every other person, you decide to play the big boy role, and you shouldn't complain. And they are not embarking on any trade to say the dividends should be shared as so percentage. If you've been contributing much more than every other member nation over these years, this is not the right time to begin to complain. I'm sure Donald Trump has so much to wanting to bring out at the same time. There should be a feedback mechanism. It's not every action that is right that you should embark upon. You consider the sensibilities of the rest set of persons around you. So if he decides to withdraw from WHO, NATO, and the rest on the ground that they are contributing so much more, then there should have been a meeting trying to rationalize our various contributory roles towards upholding this organization, NATO or WHO and the rest. So I'm sure that has not been exploited. Because it feels America contributes so much, so by withdrawing from it, he doesn't care if it crumbles. And that's insensitivity on his part as a leader. So what you've been holding forth over the years, if you want to renege from doing it, there's a simple way of doing it. You call the various parties together and you iron out some differences, if there will be need or not for you to still be a member of that. Not this open threat to the other nations of these NATO and the rest. Right. He should interact with them. Okay. A withdrawal from it shows he never had any good commitment towards it.
You just want to go for a break. When we return, we'll continue with this discussion, a recipe for disaster, or the step in the right direction. Talking about Donald Trump's policy. Do stay. Thank you so much for staying tuned. If you just joined us, this is International Forum. Well, Barrister Heron was taking a look at the way America is treating her allies right now. You have the WHO, you have the NATO, you have other things that America is involved in, making the world feel their presence. But do not be saying America first. No more handouts. After all, even in Freetown, you don't have free lunch. Tell me, how is that going to affect the position of America as a police of the world?
Well, to me, it might not completely, but though it will have a little effect. But again, you look at it. If we say that we are an organization and we are doing things for the benefit of us and the others, as it were, I shouldn't be the only one making the contribution. Because his claim is that some are not making their own contributions. Directly or indirectly, if you are not making your contributions, it affects that which we have collectively agreed that it will work out for humanity. The issue of WHO, it is mostly African countries that benefit more from it than the America itself. America might not even benefit up to 1%. And some other countries that were supposed to make their own contribution towards it do not make those contributions. So that is the reason they cannot claim they are not aware of the man's action, because this is issues he has been drumming long before this period, when it was in his first tenure, before he, the issue that came up that didn't bring him to this one. Already they are aware of his intentions. And again, it will go a long way in making other countries who have not making their contributions to also sit up. And it will also go a long way in ensuring that there is fairness, because when you are talking about, that we are in a democratic setting, everybody must benefit from it. So other countries should do their best to ensure that that which they are supposed to contribute for the benefit of all is done. And when it is done, this issue of him threatening, at the end of the day, we are all humans. We will always see reasons why he has to back down for whatever decision he intends taking. But it will push them to understanding why they need to do the needful.
All right. Now let's move straight down to U.S. where Osao Sazua is standing by. Now, if you take a look at the way that Trump is going right now, over 100 or 200 executive orders that he has signed, and Americans have been analyzing these orders. Their allies also, they are not talking out fully right now. It's like they're not happy with what the president is doing. Do you think this might just cut ties with some of the American allies, vis-a-vis some of them that are in WHO, and of course some others also that are in NATO, and other allies across the globe where America do have their base?
Yeah, thank you, Whitson. Let me quickly say this before I answer you. My learned colleague just mentioned the issue of that America might not be benefiting much from the WHO, and that most of the beneficiaries are African and third world nations. In that sense, is very right. But then, importantly, then why is it so? It is said that a chain is as good as its weakest link. It's a chain. The chain has to be strong to the extent that the weakest link, the strength of its weakest link defines the strength of the whole chain. That's how healthcare is all over the world. That's why the World Health Organization was even established in the first place. And it is even more so now that the world has become a global village, that the easy movement of human beings across the globe poses a strong issue. Of course, in the very recent past, we have the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemics. That is why it is so that those countries that ordinarily do not have the wherewithal, the finances, the economic strength to put in place certain healthcare issues that will address the issue of maybe an epidemic or a pandemic coming up, so that the World Health Organization can step in, bridge that economic gap, and ensure that all is well. Because if someone is like we just learned, like I said, if someone has COVID in China, before you say Jack, it's all over the place. That's what happened. That is why we have the World Health Organization. That is why we have not just America, the economies of Europe and Japan is very strong. So they really don't, if we are to be transactionary in our thought and our methodology, they really don't need the World Health Organization, just like the US doesn't really need it, to be frank. But the World Health Organization recognizes that a threat to healthcare anywhere in the world is a threat to healthcare everywhere in the world. That is why it's that. Now let's quickly address the issue of American allies. Yes, after the Second World War, the world kind of morphed into two strong alignment. We have the NATO alignment, and then we have the defunct Soviet alignment, and all those that were under it. And that alignment, or what some experts call the mutually assured destruction, that look, because this one has nuclear powers, this one has nuclear powers, the world can configure it. Then that thing brings a kind of mutual respect. And that alignment has kept peace in the world now for almost 90 years. And we pray that it will continue. But if Trump is beginning now to fracture those alignments that have built peace for almost 90 years, then something is amiss. If you can recall, the First World War ended 1918. And in less than 25 years or 28 years, the Second World War began. Because the League of Nations couldn't address the issues of nationalism and the issue of the resentment that the Germans felt after they lost the First World War. But for all the imperfections of all the Bretton Woods organizations that came up, like the World Health Organization, like even the United Nations Organization itself, and all other things, we have had peace. And that peace had to be maintained at all costs. There was never, I have told you, I have often quoted JFK on this platform, that there was never a good war or a bad peace. There is no amount of dollars, billions you pay to ensure that peace continues.
I will come back to you. I will come back to you. Now, you heard him say there's no amount of dollars you spend for peace to reign. Some are saying when you overbill allies or you're forcing them to contribute as much as you're contributing, there be a sense of loss in leadership. That might just be the beginning of the first step in America, losing leaders. But after all, for you to be a leader, you have to sacrifice more than the other constituents. Take it up from there.
Well, when it comes to this very topic, I'm personally very different in opinion. I think I like what Donald Trump is doing. I think the World Health Organization is a scam. Most of those things that came up after the First World War, that changed the closed market system to the Bretton Woods, was just a kind of tool to control. The American would demand what is not feasible. If you don't do it, they'll come after you. And the World Health Organization, what makes you think Africa needs those things? They only use it as a ways and means to come look good to you, while to take so much away from you. If our leaders are responsible, we can build our own hospitals. We don't need WHO. So with what he's saying, with all due respect to some of the things he was saying, I don't think the 90 years peace plan has anything to do with the direct threat that has been happening with the way these neo-colonial masters has held the system using these agencies. The so-called alignment and allies is a way to keep things in a bad order. People cannot get up and say this or say that. England used to be a superpower. France used to be a superpower. I believe that by the time you come together and want to be pulling one rope as a team, you should not weaponize it by militarizing the system, which means every time you tell us this war is going to start, and you're the one building the weapons that you're selling for the wars. So at the end of the day, I think Donald Trump coming into practically, I'm not on that level in terms of personality. I kind of praise his courage to challenge that anomaly for the system that has been in place that has created pains and so much lives have been lost, creating wars everywhere. That Donald Trump continuously and constantly.
You just said after this break, continue with your line of thought, okay? Thank you so much for staying tuned. Well, on the road with you before we went to a particular break, Americans and allies, Trump said it 30 years ago that the allies should contribute almost equally as Americans are doing, or else there'll be no deal to him. It's like running governance as business. But in a certain, if you don't contribute more than I do, you don't sacrifice more than I do. If you're in the same level, that means you have no right to call yourself my leader. Won't that threaten the position of America as the police of the world?
Leadership can exist within a hostile environment. Leadership can also exist within a peaceful environment. Governance and government, democratic system, are peaceful environment. But if you're in the line of duty and you're on the fiery line, like you say, you're a war now, you still have a leader, a general, or a captain that leads the military assault. So at every point there's a leader. But you see, there's an undertone to what is happening between Trump and the neocons. He is also a kind of a student of history. He has received the law since he got into the political system, from a successful businessman to becoming that man that is tried in America and convicted for one or two things, which Trump has clearly said. They even brought a lawyer from The Hague to do X, Y, Z. My point is this. What Trump is fighting, as much as I understand, is the fact that you sell all these ideas of the world peace and whatnot. You store nuclear weapons. Everybody's saying you disarm, but they still keep a lot of nuclear weapons. They never fight countries with nuclear weapons, which means that peace is under duress. But you can come together as a nation and genuinely don't continuously build weapons to fight, but rather defensive. Are you building NATO or WHO, whatever organization, as a way of preventive measure or as an assault? Because this WHO, this World Bank, this created so much problems and kept many countries in debt. And at the same time, these countries that are rich in natural mineral resources have so much money siphoned into this land, which they eventually repatriate at some point after trading with this money. And at the same time, we're talking about basic healthcare. Before the modern world and the AI, life actually did exist amongst the human race. You know, even if there are new mechanisms to make life better, there are so many things that is wrong with the current system that Trump is fighting. And they know that very well. The idea of stopping wars, to me, there are repercussions. When Trump went into Afghanistan to pull out the military, there was a lot of people assassinated for ever standing with the Americans.
All right.
So why is it that every time, what has to do with the world is you telling us the World Health Organization is doing this, or NATO, the NATO countries are not contributing this much. At the end of the day, if America was not benefiting from controlling those people like puppets, other countries, why would they put in that much money?
I'll come back to you. Good question. Why are they putting in that much money in the past? And Donald Trump said, look, I'm going to pull out if this continues. But like I said, that was what was giving America an edge to say, since I'm the major contributor, listen to what I have to say. But right now is that Trump want to make everything on a level playing field. Don't you think that would distort the equilibrium of the world, economically, politically, in fact, globally speaking? Take it from the Honorable.
You've answered it already.
It's a question I'm asking.
You have answered
Don't you think it will?
Yeah. So it's just going to agree with you. It will. Because the leadership role you have been into over the years is because of your transactional contributions to it. And if you want to withdraw your financial contribution, then what follows immediately is your leadership that is being threatened. And if Donald Trump doesn't mind America losing the leadership, let it be. Because you can't withdraw what has given you the edge and want to be in charge of it. It doesn't add up. So if he's saying that in anger, let him bear the consequences. And as I think all of us will agree with, if every nation is doing fairly okay, we don't need America. I have some reservations about the health care. A lot of challenges, whether it be cardiovascular problems, maybe heart-related problems, they come up with drugs. And from the simple signs that we know, they change it to say, this is a new hypothesis. And you have to follow. Once upon a time, they told us that if you give birth to a new child, no more breastfeeding. All of us followed, no more breastfeeding, formula, baby formula. After so many years, they told us again, no, don't do baby formula, you breastfeeding. Everybody rushed back to it. There was also a time, so egg is not good for someone that has hypertension and all that. After so many years again, they said, no, 1 egg in a day. So they toss us here and there. If countries can use this opportunity, it's an opportunity for them to look inwards, to say, we don't need you again. If, as a responsible father, you have been catering for your own child over the years, they rose up suddenly that I won't pay your school fees anymore. It means that the rights and responsibilities that you were into will have to be withdrawn from you. So if a parent understands what he will lose by challenging his child, that won't be responsible for your upkeep anymore. In other words, the child should be on his own. And if the child becomes on his own like that, then that child can have a say over his life. So to me, it's a window for a lot of countries that are being in captivity in the hands of the Americans to get their freedom.
To get their freedom.
Yeah, they should get their freedom.
But do you share his views on this?
Well, it depends on the angle at which you look at it.
Angle 90.
Generally, to me, we need one another to enable us coexist and move on as a people and as the world would say. Just as I gave a common example here, our brothers from the north are here everywhere. You wake up in the morning, you are looking for somebody to do a 1 million job, you pick them easily, they do. That is what you find the immigrants who are coming into America, both even Nigerians, where everybody is going for greener pasture, and at the same time developing America more than it is. And if you find these persons who travel abroad and develop America as it were, if they are remaining in their place, such opportunities are not there because the environment is not conducive. Politicians will continue to politicize everything where they need to have done things right for the benefit of mankind. So that is why you find a situation where people. So to me, Donald Trump, though he's doing well, but I equally believe that his harsh policies, as time goes on, he will be able to have a human face to look at it objectively. If you are pursuing criminals, nobody is saying that the criminals who are migrating from their country to the world, you cannot check them. But you need, your economy needs all these migrants because they are the people who will work in the farms. They are the people who work in the poultries, in different places. You need them to be there. The Americans, as they are, will not do those jobs you will want them to do. It's just like we are people in Benin City here. The Benin man, there's a job the Benin man will do that we will not ask him to come and begin to dig sock away. There is a brother from the north who is ready to do those kinds of things. So it's the same thing you find with the Americans. Okay. So you will need these migrants to be there to help in developing America economically, socially, and otherwise.
All right, now let's get straight down to Massachusetts, where Barrister Sazua will give us his last line because I'm getting signals that I will press for time. Do you think if Donald Trump should continue in this way, in his trend, in his mindset, do you think that global peace will collapse or is going to strengthen global peace?
Yeah, thank you. I'll be fast. Let me quickly say this. You see, sometimes human nature baffles me. We are so gullible as a people. And politicians over the centuries have used that herd mentality, what the German philosopher Nietzsche called the herd mentality, to keep saying something, say it over, even when you know you are obviously lying. But the more you say it, like Hitler said, he says, say a lie 1,000 times and then it becomes the truth. And that's the truth for Donald Trump. He has sold all this narrative that immigrants are criminals. So I wasn't surprised when my friend Chonsa was talking that he was using the word criminals and immigrants synonymously. I wasn't surprised because that's what Donald Trump has been saying over this time, that immigrants, criminals, immigrant criminals. But then, now you come and get the criminals and deport them, you can't find the criminals. All you see are people, peasant people doing jobs that the average American will not do. Let me quickly round up on this platform by quoting ROD Lang. I have had occasions to quote this guy here on this platform before. I will do because it's very instructive. He said that the range and the extent of the things that we think and do is limited by what we fail to notice. And because we fail to notice that we are failing to notice, there is so little we can do to change until we notice how this failing to notice shapes our thoughts and deeds. That is what is happening. Trump is failing to notice the direct implications of his posturing, his ad-mouth posturing. Tariffs. What are tariffs? Those tariffs will be paid by the average Americans. Goods will go up, and it has started today. Trump was elected because he told us that immigrants are criminals. Now, you can't get those criminals. He was elected because he told us that he was going to bring groceries, that inflation is too much. I wonder when Americans say that there's inflation, they don't know inflation. Let them go to Nigeria. So people have sensationalized issues like this. And then the issue of religion, which for me has done more harm than good, honestly. He has also
Thank you.
That as, it's okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, we don't have enough time. Our time is up. I'm going to leave it at this, okay? Thank you so much, Barrister Sazua. Thank you so much, Honorable Igeba. Of course, Honorable Frank Amigo and Barrister Henry Walzer. Thank you for your wonderful opinion. The question still remains. His hardman posture, his executive order, executive bill, do you think is a pathway to peace, to progress, or a recipe for disaster? We'll see you again next week, Tuesday, God willing. Bye for now.